Oh, hey, and welcome everyone. Happy second quarter. Happy April. New quarter, new month, new week. My goodness, everything is going on. And with that, we are having quite a new action. Prices have been going down, some panic. People are wondering where is this coming from? Will this continue? Is this the bloody April that we were talking about so many times? Or are we actually going to see just a bit of a consolidation, and then we're gonna go back up? We're gonna discuss obviously the crypto prices. We're gonna talk a bit about the general market. We're gonna talk about DeFi Chain. We're gonna talk about Bake. We're gonna talk about Q1, Q2, and all the good things around that. Fabio, how are you? What's going on? Give us a bit of a sentiment check. What's happening?
Yeah, it's working. Q1 was definitely a bit more bullish than I expected. And the ETFs were definitely more bullish than expected.
I agree. Was
Price
that the
is
biggest surprise for you? What was the What was the biggest surprise for you in Q1?
definitely price wise that we so and here there is a caveat to that because I've said that previously, maybe a month ago or so, also in a space that we are too early, that price has basically taken off a bit earlier than usual. And I stand corrected, because there is actually two way of measuring that. If you take the May 2021 top, we are not early at all. Then the May 2021 top with the Coinbase IPO would have been early. But if you take that top, which is if you look at on-chain metrics, the actual top, then we're right about on schedule. But if you take the November top, with all the FTX and SBF drama, then we would have been too early. So for me, the biggest surprise in Q1 was how huge the demand for these ETFs were. So I think I made a statement at the end of last year that I was expecting 30 to 50 billion in inflows within the first year, and I think we're already in the range of that. I don't know what the total inflows are already, but they're out of this world. I'm really surprised by how massive the volumes are. Yeah, so
Here, I mean, net inflow has been 12 billion so far.
yeah,
And
so
so if we
within 2 months.
subtract, so we add the 15 billion outflows. So yeah, it's difficult to understand how much is outflow and how much is just reshuffling out of grayscale. But so 12 million, 12 billion net inflow.
Yeah. So what was the biggest surprise for you in Q1?
Yeah, since you picked ETF, and I agree, I think ETF probably was. I would probably say I really would not have expected. So let's kind of take it a step further and say, okay, we had a time traveler who comes back and says, hey, guys, you're really underestimating the Bitcoin inflows. The Bitcoin inflows are going to be way stronger on the short time horizon, and Bitcoin is going to break a new all time high because this ETF demand is so strong. Let's say I would have had this information, I would have not guessed that at the same time we're seeing this meme coin rally, this complete degen rally where basically it was just all about pumping something for 6 hours. And then even bets were going on how long things start pumping that are pumping just based on memes. So like degen 2.0, basically. I would have not expected that. I would have either expected that Bitcoin is leveling off, is kind of getting flat. People are getting a bit bored and be like, okay, what's the next thing here? And they starting like completely aping into all these other things. Or I would have expected Bitcoin to do really well because of the ETF, but not both things together. I think that is this is really the surprise to me, that both things happen together. Um, yeah. Do you think? I mean, look. Let me just pull up the statistics here. We've had really a super strong quarter here. Bitcoin 86% up, Ethereum close to 60% up. Very, very strong. I mean, one of the strongest quarters. If you go back, very few quarters where that's strong. Also in the stock market, I mean, this very funny meme that was posted here by John Haslett on Twitter. Yeah, happy Easter here. And man, everything is going really well. Two stocks, especially on the Magnificent Seven, on the Elite Eight, and so on, that didn't do well: Apple and Tesla, and obviously Boeing, who, no surprise, didn't do so well. But yeah, everything else, oh, man, AI, Nvidia, really pumping, rocking. Um, yeah, do you think the party is finished now? I mean, this is kind of the show of the last week. Doesn't look so bad here. Bitcoin 66,000, Ethereum 3,300, 6% down. Sure, some coins here 12% down over the last week. Doesn't look so bad. ETF flows have been relatively weak. I mean, um, April 1st was a negative outflow. Yesterday, ARK had a massive outflow here, 90 million. I mean, massive, massive is relative. Um, but yeah, for me, the biggest worry is always that it's lacking demand. I mean, we see some of the outflows here on the Grayscale side. What do you think? Do you think the party is over? Do you think is this expected? What's your thoughts on this? Your data on this? What do you see there? Because I guess a lot of people have this on their mind right now.
Yeah, it's tough to say. So let me just maybe an assessment, just crypto only, and then maybe with a little bit of a macro lens. So just crypto wise, narrative wise. So Julian, I think the thing that we agree is that the narrative right now is mostly the halvening right now is mostly a narrative. It's not that this has a very fundamental impact. So just to quote Willy Woo on this, the last halving already, it was overshadowed, or so just to put things into comparison, the I think just Coinbase and Binance together sell more Bitcoin in a day than are produced by miners. So because they get all their money in crypto, but they need to pay their expenses in fiat, they need to sell Bitcoin. And I think this number is already larger than what is produced in new supply. And the second point on that is right now we have about 900 Bitcoin being produced. After halving, it's going to be 450. To put that in perspective, every day on average, about 5,000 Bitcoin change hands between different investors. So the halving is only about, let's say, 10% of an impact. So this is, of course, a supply impact. Less supply is going to be generated, less supply is going to be sold by miners, and this is about a 10% impact. On the other hand, the ETFs, I'm not sure what the exact average is, but I would put it approximately between 1,000 and 2,000 Bitcoin a day, which is, of course, larger. I think it might be more closer to 2,000 than it is to 1,000. So let's say 100% demand shock. And these two things kind of play together. And then we have the 10th of April. Some people say it's the 1st of May. I actually don't know when registered investment advisors are allowed to buy. So I know that it's 90 days, but I don't know if you need a full calendar month to finish or not. Some people say it's going to be the 1st of May. Some people are saying it's the 10th of April, but it's definitely happening within the next 40 days. And I ask myself the question how big of an impact this will be, because it's definitely opening another, let's say, floodgate. And how big it is, I don't know. But there's definitely an unlocking of new capital. So, and historically, we saw every time Bitcoin reached an all-time high, it kind of tested it and had a choppy period of 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. And this time is no different. So is the party over crypto-wise? I tend to say no. I would say we see a choppy period, at least for another week or weeks, let's say 2 or 3 weeks maybe, before we see the impact of the registered investment advisor and the halving. And then macro wise, I don't know. I'm macro kind of scares me a lot because everything is just not everything, but tech, AI, risk on assets, the indexes are just going crazy. Like it doesn't really matter where you put your money. Everything is going up. Gold is going up. The S&P is going up. The Nasdaq is going up. Only Tesla is kind of disappointing. Maybe we can touch on that. And then, of course, you have the seasonality. A lot of people already say go away in May. I would be very, very interested in your thoughts on both the crypto side and the macro side. Yeah.
I mean, difficult. I think we covered it a bit last week. I talked about additional liquidity going into the system, how this is different to the liquidity that what happened during COVID, but it's still liquidity. I am not as bearish as I maybe was at the beginning of the year, where I really thought the reverse repo liquidity is drying up, the bank funding program is finishing. These are all things that make it a bit scary from a macro side. In general, I do think right now we don't have much of a macro play. At the moment, everything is micro. It's really down to an individual coins. It's really down to an individual narrative. And you feel this, you see this. So I'm not sure how much, also on the stock side, I mean, I don't know how much macro really has an impact at the moment. It's no surprise Tesla is down. The deliveries, I think they came out yesterday, they weren't really good. The demand side is just a bit of an issue. And it's something that I think a lot of people have been speculating about. I kind of talked a lot about how maybe it makes sense to diversify out of Tesla into, I don't know, an index, a tech index, or something that's a bit more diversified. And I don't know, I didn't do it myself. I should have, and I talked too much about it. And I've been talking about this for months now, and I didn't do it because I just always thought, okay, it gets better. It didn't. I don't know. Now I feel like, okay, at these prices, do I really want to diversify? I don't know. So it's I'm not so worried at the moment about the general macro picture, but also I want to be clear. I'm very diversified. I am in a good kind of portfolio setup. I would love for prices to go further up. Don't get me wrong, but I think just like you, I maybe not see a crash, but I see maybe more of a sidewards kind of movement. People made shitloads of money over the past couple of months. I think they're cashing in. I think they are, yeah, they're just kind of turning a bit over, and we can see this. And we saw the insider selling on a lot of stocks. I mean, we saw this in Amazon. We are seeing this on MicroStrategy with Michael Saylor. We're seeing this in so many assets, and I don't think there's much of a surprise there. So, and that's normal. I mean, and this consolidation is healthy. I think as long as we're staying in the 60,000s for Bitcoin, I think as long as we're staying over 3,000 in Ethereum, I'm not all too worried. Price is still so important in crypto. It's so much more important than in all the other assets. In stocks, price, sure, of course it's important, but at the end, it really, what matters is the underlying. What matters is how many cars does Tesla deliver. What matters is how many computers and iPhones and services does Apple sell, and how many chips does Nvidia produce, right? These are the key things. Price just follows. And in crypto, price sets so much of the narrative, and it's so relevant. So I think as long as we see the sideways movement right now, I think everything is good. Um, that's just where I'm standing with all this. Have you been following the news around the U.S. government selling off, I think, quite a few bitcoins? Do you want to update us on this?
I don't think they have them. They have sold them yet. I think it's a research firm confirmed that they were moving 2.4 billion or 2.1 billion. So it's 30,000 Bitcoin, around about 30,000 Bitcoin. The
They
Department
do
of
have
Justice.
200,000, I think, or something, right?
Sorry.
If I remember correctly. I think they have 200,000 bitcoins, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, yeah, something around that. A lot
Like
more.
almost a
So
percent of the entire supply, yeah.
yeah, and they transferred 30,000 to Coinbase. I don't think so that this was confiscated from the Silk Road. I think in it must have been 2014, 2015, something like that.
Yep. Yep.
And so they were transferred to Coinbase, and I think obviously you can make the conclusion that they want to sell it or they want to liquidate the position. Not sure if this is a wise move, but it's definitely played out well. If you were holding Bitcoin from 2014 until now, of course that's a nice profit, and the US is of course approaching this with a fiat mind, and this also might have been the reason why we saw a sell-off, that people got scared. It's a lot of Bitcoin, 30,000 Bitcoin. And I think we will definitely see more rumors or even confirmation if they actually go ahead and sell it. more. Honestly, I need to be I need to be honest. I was 6 days on holiday, so from first day until yesterday, I was on holiday, so I'm not super fluent. I did a brief catch up and took a look at all the news, but I'm a bit rusty. Do you know anything more than what I
I
just
mean, I
mentioned?
have yeah. So I mean, my network is mostly obviously in the crypto space, so it's not so much the Wall Street side. But what I've heard from market makers that I know and from other exchanges at the moment, these coins are not being offered from what I hear. So I mean, could either be that they got offered already, or they got auctioned off already and are sold already, or they were hedged already via other sources and now are just being settled at the moment. Could also be. It's just a bit untypical because normally you hear in the market when such a large chunk gets offered, where then suddenly a lot of people are looking for demand and are looking for is there interest there. So there could be a couple of reasons, a couple of things. Personally, I'm not sure the U.S. government goes or the Department of Justice goes and just sells these coins on the market. I don't think so. I mean, to me, that's just a weird kind of pattern. I don't think this makes any sense to do so. So personally, I think this is very unlikely. Why would they transfer them to Coinbase? Well, either they sold them OTC already, and whoever is owning them now has a custody account with Coinbase. I think that's, to be honest, a very credible uh, kind of situation because it could easily be a US buyer. And I think if you're institutional in the US, you're probably going to work with Coinbase. So that could be a credible scenario. Or they do want to sell them OTC, or they're looking for demand out there and are just moving them to Coinbase right now and then handing it over to Coinbase and then see where does the Coinbase flow go from there. And yeah, so that's just, I don't know, a bit of what I see there. But I think that behavior that now people believe, oh my goodness, that's going to be sold on the open market. Think about how much the price crashes. I don't know, not a very credible scenario. I just don't think so. Yeah, why would you do this if you were the Department of Justice? It just doesn't make much sense, to be honest. So yeah, that's and I don't think the current sell-off was because of that, unless someone knew that, started front running it, and was just worried about it. That could obviously be uh, there are scenarios where this could be. So some of the market makers, someone may have known that and just front ran that news, but I haven't heard anything or seen anything in this regard. So I'm not sure if this is really a credible scenario. Um, yeah. Where do you think the sell-off has come from this week? Do you think it's just a coincidence? Everyone was a bit too over bullish. I mean, we saw liquidations going up to 400 million. The craziness sometimes was insane. Do you think that is something, or yeah?
I can't think of any particular news that is responsible for it. For me, it's just natural market movement. It wasn't even that much of volatility, and we are in all-time high territories. Of course, there are people that are taking a bit of profit. We were a bit over levered, and also like indicators like the RSI and other technical indicators were a bit on the higher end. So actually, it's quite healthy that we take a breather and have a bit of a correction and sideways action. It would, in my opinion, be even more healthy if we stay at these levels or have a bit more of a sideways chop for another week or two, so these indicators kind of cool off a bit. And we used to have that in 2020 and in 2017 as well. So yeah, it's also was expected. I think 2 weeks ago, Julian and myself, we briefly talked about that. Maybe to just address one question in the chat. Henry One in Town asked, "What's the best app to mine Bitcoin?" There isn't. There isn't on your mobile phone. It's not worth to mine Bitcoin. Also not on your computer. If you want to lose money, use NiceHash. It's an app you can download on your computer, but you're going to lose money. You pay more in electricity than you will earn it. And if you just want to have some fun, go and get a nerd miner. It's costing you $5 a week, and you have a chance of, I don't know, 1 in 2 billion a year chance that you actually find a block. Uh, but don't mind Bitcoin, just buy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, what is your contrarian view for Q2? What are like what do you think? What is a popular view that you kind of attach to for Q2, and then what's a contrarian view if you have any for Q2?
So I think there is the popular view is we break all time high and we go for 100K. There was a lot of people I've
Really?
even
That's the popular view for Q2? Really?
I would say
Wow. Okay.
so.
Okay.
People, at least on my feed, people are overly bullish.
Wow.
And even within like the let's say the OGs like Adam Beck and a few others, Samson Mao, they were talking about 100K and Omega candle before halving, and which I think it's not happening. Of course, we had an all-time high before the halving. Even that I thought was unlikely, and I stand corrected. Um, and I think that a lot of people. So you have a few channels that kind of grew uh, a lot. Like one of the channels is Invest Answers. I didn't know the guy before this cycle. I follow him since like 6 months or so, and I have to say he has a kind of likable personality. He's like a mellow, take it easy version of BitBoy. He does he stands and he does these live podcasts without the shouting and a bit more factual. And he had a lot of growth, and a lot of channels like his, they are extremely bullish. Like all they do is they take data, 40 minute segments, 30-minute segments, and they just present bullishness after hopium. Um, so I would say my timeline, at least, or a lot of people that I follow, they're talking about alt season. They're talking about meme craze, about new all-time highs, about 100K. Um, Not sure if they specifically say it has to happen in Q2, but they're definitely bullish. And contrarian take, I'm not sure if I'm actually contrarian, but I also wish a bit for that we have a bit more time, that we cool off, that we take our time to break the all-time high, that we make it support, and that we move slow, because the faster we move, the lower we go. If we have these parabolic run-ups in a very short period amount of time, usually we don't go as high, and we what goes high also needs to fall at one point. So I really hope we take our time. Maybe we have a little bit of a not so eventful summer with make the all-time highs, or make the 70,000 area support, chop a bit sideways, have a bit of a boring summer between 70 and 80K, and then towards the end of the year, we have the real run up, and really test the six figures. That's maybe what I wish for. I'm not sure if this is actually contrarian. I don't know. What
I
about
mean,
you,
I
Julian?
I tag on to that. I tag on to that view about. I mean, you notice I always thought that we're going to see more of a bullish setup end of Q3, beginning of Q4. So for me, I mean, everything right now is, yeah, a bit too bullish. So I don't know. So obviously, I thought that's my contrarian view that we're going to see another bullish Q2. I thought the consensus right now, because that's I thought what the cycle theory teaches is that after the halving we see always a bit of a consolidation. There's always a bit of a like it's a the halving general has always been a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news. So it's not like I'm not talking about a 50% crash, but just that after the halvings, the Bitcoin price generally struggled for a little while. And so okay, so maybe there I thought I'm gonna have a contrarian view that we're gonna maybe see a bullish Q2. So it seems I'm part of the narrative here. I'm part of the group here. So I don't know. What is the view right now on the Ethereum ETF? Is the Twitterverse view that we're gonna see an Ethereum ETF in May, or is the Twitterverse view that we're not gonna see an ETF in May?
So I have to say my timeline is of course more dominated by, let's say, Bitcoin maxis. I follow a few ETH people, but it's definitely overshadowed, I would say, by a ratio of 80-20. And the Bitcoin people, of course, are more in the camp that there will not be an ETF at all. I'm somewhere in between. I don't think it's going to happen in May. I think it's probably more towards the end of the year. And personally, I think if BlackRock and Fidelity, I think Fidelity, they issued a request for a staking included ETH ETF, which I think is very, very interesting, because I made the case that an ETH ETF is not going to be as interesting because you miss out on the staking part. But if you actually have an ETF that includes the staking, it's basically a dividend paying ETF from a TradFi perspective, which could actually be very interesting for let's say TradFi or institutional investors. But I think the May is basically off the table, also because a lot of people actually trust the work that these Bloomberg analysts and so on are doing. And I think, I believe in efficient markets, and the markets kind of showing us that it's not coming, because
Mm.
ETH is right now losing out against Bitcoin. And if there would be an ETH ETF in May, the markets would have already sniffed that out, and ETH would start to outperform. Yeah, that's a bit of my view. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, yeah. Okay, let me take the contrarian point here. I mean, I do think it's a bit of a coin flip, but let me take the contrarian point that we're going to see an ETF approval in May. I think there's a. I mean, again, I see the points against it. I see the points for it. Let me just take it and yeah, talk my own book basically and hope for my own bags. um, okay. Any other thoughts on Bitcoin, Ethereum, general market right now? I know there's a question in the chat on DeFi Chain. Do you wanna any updates, news, thoughts on DeFi Chain?
Yeah, maybe, and also maybe let me bridge that. So on DeFi chain, as I said, I was a bit rusty, so I wasn't following very closely what is happening in the community and so on, because I was on holiday. But I would love to prepare a bit of a segment, maybe even bring some slides next week. So especially on DeFi and USD. So if you want to have maybe of a little bit of a an exclusive segment on both of these, make sure to turn in next week. But I also want to kind of build on that. And so the narratives that we have in the general crypto markets right now, I let me maybe put my theory or my top five forward, and then I would also be interested in what your plays or ideas or alphas are on that. So right now, the topics that are hot are real world assets. And of course, DeFi Chain is among those. This is basically stocks, equities, and other things on the blockchain. You have artificial intelligence, that's super hot, gaming, meme coins, and yeah, maybe also uh, maybe scaling second layers on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are maybe the top five. And the thing that I said last year is going to be huge, which we haven't seen yet, is identity. Uh, it's also kind of hard to build tokens around that, and I still believe it's gonna be a thing. And just as a side note here, it's super hard for the average investor to kind of follow along and know what to invest in when it comes to AI or when it comes to real world assets and all of these things. And shameless plug here: go on to Bake, make an account. If you already have an account, we have smart bundles that kind of take all the work away from you. So you can say, okay, I want to take part in, I want to invest in gaming, I want to invest in AI, I want to invest in real world assets. And there are curated bundles which give you exposure to the top projects in any sector. And this is, of course, if you're a degen and if you're on Twitter 8 hours a day and you know all of this, it's probably not the place for you to invest. But if if you have a work, a life, and family, and you don't have the time to follow along with all of these developments, a smart bundle is the perfect choice for you. You can do reoccurring buys, invest X amount each month, DCA your way into a sector basically within the cryptosphere. Definitely recommend it. I don't know. I would be very much interested in what's your what you are looking at narrative wise with yeah.
I mean, at the moment, it's. I mean, AI coins are just. I mean, they're so trendy right now, and that's what's really getting pushed. So I mean, yeah, that's. To be fair, I mean, I don't think much of a surprise there when it comes to the narrative. Yeah. And look, also to kind of transition a bit over on the big side, I mean, we've launched now basically full exchange on all the assets. Very good trading engine, looking for best trading routes on the various coins. Try this out. If you want to support us, please use us. Don't use other platforms. I think our pricing is super, super aggressive and super, super beneficial. So yeah, the team did an amazing job there. Yeah, really, really good groundwork for all the other things now that we can build on top there. So no, really, really good. I mean, I think just comparing where the company was 6 months ago and where it's now, it's night and day. The team did such a fantastic job. So yeah, it's really cool. Any other updates? Anything else we had discussed prior that's probably going to be a bit of a shorter one because most of the news are price up, price down, very, very little fundamental. Anything else we need to address?
So crypto wise, we talked, of
Any
course, we
any
talked.
secret any secret Slack messages you want to share that we didn't discuss? Man, I got so many messages on this from last week. And I was
Well,
like, dude, I really didn't know that Fabio was going to share this.
so far I haven't gotten into any trouble. I received very positive feedback, both from employees and from people from the community that I brought it up. I'm very happy that I'm still employed. So I'm not I'm not in any big trouble right now, and I also don't saw any particular Slack messages that are worth mentioning. Also because I was on holiday. So of course we briefly talked about we talked about BEC, we talked about DeFi Chain, and Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. Of course, right now, one of the question that is very dear to me and the topic that is very dear to me, and I've been waiting for this for 10 years, is gold. Gold is on the move. And look, in my opinion, we are in a bull run. The chart and I wouldn't call it fundamentals, but the opportunity right now or the situation with a bit of an uncertainty worldwide and so on definitely looks like it wants to melt faces. It looks like a super bullish chart that basically just cup and handle, broke out, start of a bull run. And I'm, of course, super excited about that because I've been waiting for 10 years for gold to finally move. I know that you were a bit hesitant when it came to gold a few years ago because it doesn't have any cash flow. It's basically a commodity. It's not really an investment. It more or less tracks purchasing power. Do you have any thoughts or did you change your mind on gold?
Look, for me, gold is, while gold does have utility, it still has some of the weakest utility of all the potential investments. And so for me, I just love to invest in something where I can really see and understand the utility quite well. I do have the Buffett kind of philosophy there where the utility of an investment is just key. And obviously cash flow is a very easy utility, but there's a lot of other utilities as well. And gold is just weak on this, but that doesn't mean I put zero into my portfolio. I wouldn't put 30% or something in my portfolio for that. But yeah, a lot of people I know love that. And yeah, they I don't know. And one of the reasons why people love it is because it is, there's so much emotion and so much uncertainty around it, right? Valuing these things. People just love these things because the more certainty you have, the more boring it is to invest. And people just they want to have this speculative kind of character, and gold has that to a certain extent, right? You compare gold to a very boring stock, right? Then yeah, I don't know, like compared to Coca-Cola or something. I mean, Coke is so boring, but it's such a great stock. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Um, Nothing else. We are closing it off. I think questions answered. Anything else? Then next
No,
week we're gonna have a bit of a deep dive.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to have a more or less a deep dive, especially on DUSD and DFI, bringing up everything that's going on in the community, maybe I even have time to bring a few charts that I can send in advance to Julian so he can show them on YouTube. Make sure to turn in for that. If you missed the beginning, this is going to be available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and also this version on Twitter is recorded as well, so you can listen to everything. In the beginning, we mainly talked about general markets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, bit of altcoins, and what's going on at the company. Yeah, that's it from my side. A bit of a shorter version this week. I think we oh yeah, maybe special. We are going to be back on Tuesday next week. Not
Yeah,
sure. I
we have
think.
to do Tuesday, public holiday on Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, next week Tuesday. And yeah, from my side,
Same
that's
time.
all. Thanks for tuning in.
Awesome, everyone. Let's hope for a good week. Prices go up. Again, check out Big, use our exchange function, use the cash flow function, look at our bundles. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for all the continued support. Thanks, Fabio. It was a good time. All the best, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good returns. See you next week.